Hey YouTubers, it's right here. Today I have a Battlefield 4 Know Your Role video covering the Recon class. We're going to discuss different ways you can use the Recon class to be very effective on the battlefield. Now I just want to give a disclaimer, we're not going to be covering two of the gadgets, the Claymores and the C4. I've covered those in the support class tutorial that you can check out on my channel if you want to find out how to utilize those. Now the C4 is unlocked early on as a Recon player, so you will want to know how to use that. But again, if you need information on using the C4, go ahead and check out the support tutorial I have on this channel. Now I want to go ahead and go over, before we get into it, two of the main upgrades for Recon. It's of course the sniper one, which is your standard sniper rifles. You get to increase the time you can steady your scope and do advanced spotting, things like that. And then you have the Spec Ops, which is kind of new, utilizing motion sensors, C4, increasing the level of your motion sensors, and MAVs can detect, and doing those types of things. So we're, depending on how you set up your class, you can really utilize that as a Recon player. And Recon's not just for sniping anymore, is what it means. Because you can unlock and use carbines for this class, you don't have to just sit back and be a Recon player like a sniper. You can play him as a more up close, in your face, or stealthier role. But let's go ahead now and get into the snipers. You see me using them here. A couple things to remember new about the sniper rifles is some of the unlocks you can get. You can get things like canted iron sights for all these guns, but more importantly for the sniper rifles, you can get the variable zoom, which allows you to take your zoom from, let's say if you have a normal standard 8x zoom, you equip a variable zoom, you can switch from 8 to 14. So get a little bit extra zoom on there. And you'll see I'll exhibit that here when I show you some test range footage. But that's something new, as well as dialing in your sniper rifle on the consoles. By clicking down on the D-pad or the control pad, you can go zero it in from 0 to 200 to 400, 500, all the way up to 1,000 meters to get those long-range sniper shots. And if you need to know kind of how to do that, I'd say go to the test range, practice it, learn the ranges. Find a flag way off if you're sitting out in the hills and you want to learn how to snipe from long range. Find a flag that's 300 to 400 meters away, dial in that sniper rifle, and then just pop off a couple shots to see where you go to it. But that's kind of the sniper rifles in general. Now you see here I'm using one of the main gadgets. You'll recognize this one. It's the radio beacon. Works exactly like it did in Battlefield 3. You can place it down on the ground and have your teammates spawn on you. If you place it into an open area, just like it is Battlefield 3, you'll be able to parachute in and paradrop in on areas. Great for getting behind enemy lines and rush game types. Great for keeping pressure on a team at a certain flag, or getting yourself positioned in, let's say, a central point of the map in conquest game mode, where you want to kind of keep a flag or have access to mini flags. So good all around gadget to use if you're a Recon player. Okay, now we're going to get into the next gadget, which is the motion sensors. Now the motion sensors are little throwable motion balls that you can throw out into an area, much like you would a grenade. And the nice thing about these is they last for up to 24 seconds, and they'll set out a 25-meter radius, a blip on your minimap of where enemies are. As you see here, I get this kill because I saw the blip show up of where that guy was on the minimap. I'm able to turn and get the kill. Motion sensors are awesome if you're going into dark areas like this cave here on Guilin Peaks. I throw a couple motion sensors out, or one or two of those, and I'm able to kind of spot my enemies on minimaps. Great for attacking and kind of finding out where the enemy is, although there is a drawback. The enemy can hear them beeping and making a little audible tone when they're going off. So if you throw them, they may very well know you're in the area trying to hunt them down and look for them. So be wary of that when using motion balls. But I'm glad these are back in the game. They're a lot of fun to use. Try them out and make sure you can become an expert with them. Now next we have the MAV, and the MAV works similar to what it did in Battlefield 3, although there's a few differences. Unlike in Battlefield 3, you can't get kills with it anymore, so you can actually push people off ledges and push them around with it, but you won't be able to get kills with it. It has about a 35 meter radius. 35 millimeter would have been way too short, but a 35 meter radius, and that nice little, as you see here, that FLIR kind of scope that allows you to really see targets. And as you see here on Guilin Peaks, I'm really kind of helping my buddies utilize it to spot enemies. It also has that little reticle, and you can use that to, put out like an electric bolt or an EMP blast at other enemies' gadgets, C4, radio beacons, things like that, and take those out, which is really nice as well. And you'll get motion sensor bonuses when you, and spot bonuses when you use this. And as you see here, it's great. I use it on this part here to kind of help my friendly bomber. I'm tagging all these enemies so he knows exactly where to put his bombs for the enemy bomber runs. So something like that, if used in conjunction with a mortar team or something of that nature, an enemy, a friendly bomber, you can really utilize it to do a lot of damage and clear out an area on a team. So it's good to use if you're working with a commander, with someone who's in the bomber, something like that, to use it to its most effectiveness. And again, great on maps that maybe a team deathmatch or something small based maps that have a lot of enemies on the map. Good to use there. Okay, now we're getting into one of the newer gadgets that came out with China Rising. This is the SUAV, or the SUAV. It basically, since they patched it, acts now as a roving kind of, similar to the MAV, kind of a laser designator, as well as a roving kind of, MAV, and where it'll pick up and spot enemies on the mini-map. You see it's got a long battery life. That lower right-hand corner shows you the battery life there. Long battery life, and as you see right here, you can laser designate targets with it. This was a big pain for a lot of players because you were able before to kind of run over people with it and run over enemies with it. And some, guys would just go on and get 20, streak road kills with this until they patched it. In the recent patch that DICE just released for the game, now you can only get one kill with it, and then it basically blows up when you try to do a roadkill with it. So good to see that they patched that. It's not an overpowered gadget now. And basically this is what it does. You fly it around spotting enemies and using the laser designator to try to laser designate targets. Works better on the much bigger maps than it would on a smaller map. Okay, next thing we have here is the tugs, where basically it's a little motion sensor you place on the ground. It's great if you're going to be running as a sniper, maybe covering a defensive position. I'm sitting here playing on domination. You can kind of put it down and it sends out a little pulse in a radius of about 25 meters. Now if you have one of the upgrades, I believe it's the Spec Ops upgrade, and you get to level 3, it will actually increase the range of it by 40%, giving it a large viewable area to spot enemies on your minimap. Great on working on small maps or smaller game types like this, because you can really get a lot of points. You see there I'm getting motion sensor assist points, and it's really helping my team know where the enemy's coming from. Basically exactly the same way they worked in Battlefield 3. You can place it down. A nice thing now is that they'll stay on the ground even after you die. So you can put one down, it'll continue to stay there even after you die, and you'll continue to get assist points, as you'll see me do here. So good all-around gadget. Again, using that recon role to spot enemies, it works great for that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get into my basically favorite gadgets for the Recon class, and I think some of the most important gadgets in the game. If there's one role the Recon class plays in Battlefield that's more important than any other, it's not as a sniper, it's basically as a laser designator, basically designating targets for the engineers on the map, especially when you're playing bigger game types like Rush, like Obliteration, game types that have more vehicles, Conquest. It's great for those game types. Now, let me go over the stats here. The PLD basically is a personal laser designator, works much like these binoculars you see here that I bring up. When you do bring it up, it's got a night vision type of hue on it, and about a 300-meter radius to designate targets. Now the drawback is that when you do use it, you have to keep the target locked for that laser designator to kind of stay locked on it, and thus you are susceptible to enemy fire when you do so. However, when you do get that lock on, it then makes the javelins, the law rockets, the wire-guided straw missiles that your engineers shoot at it, when they lock onto it, that much more deadly, that much more dangerous, that much more powerful. Usually they'll go on an arc to hit from the top, which causes a lot more damage, meaning you'll take out vehicles much quicker. Now the difference between this and the SOFLAM is the SOFLAM has more range. It's a 500 meters rather than the 300 meter range, and you actually set it down on something, much like you did. It's exactly the same thing in Battlefield 3. You set it down, you can then go hide, and you can bring up a little PDA to control it. Now the SOFLAM also has kind of like this, like a dumbfire capability, where if you just set it, let's say, pointing at a road, and a tank comes down that road, it's automatically going to target that tank. You don't have to go into the vision mode or the PDA to actually target it. So it's good to know the difference, how those two work. So depending on the map you're using or how you're rolling as a class, you might want to. If you're sitting back with a sniper rifle, kind of, being more of a recon player and spotting enemies, the SOFLAM might be a better choice. Whereas if you're running with a fast kind of squad and you're going from point to point, you might want to use the PLD. Basically, guys, I'd love to see more people use these. It's, you know, a great way to take out those pesky scout choppers where guys have two guys repairing them and you can't seem to kill them and take them out. It's wonderful taking them out that way. If you can just get you and a couple other engineers working together, you'll just destroy and wreak havoc on any vehicles, ground or air. So it's really good to use. I'd suggest getting used to it, using it. They're fantastic to use. And you'll see here I'm using this the SOFLAM. Now I just set the SOFLAM up there. I'm going to go ahead and target this tank, or this, you know, IFV. And you see, as I let it go, the IFV was still targeted and then got destroyed. So, you know, once I got off the PD-8, it was still there and was being targeted. So, just I'd love to see more players using them. I don't think that this is used enough. It's almost like a, you know, well-kept secret in the game that this is the real way to take out vehicles, more so than quicker and safer than any other way. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe and leave any comments. And until next time, this is Rai. Take care.